Good evening, welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the programme tonight. If the BJP in Delhi has its way, Akbar Road won't be Akbar Road much longer. Neither will Humayun Road or Tughlaq Road be the same. This is because some BJP leaders feel that these roads symbolise Muslim slavery and have to be renamed. And so, Tughlaq Road will be Guru Gobind Singh Marg, Akbar Road will be Maharana Pratap Road, Humayun Road will be Maharishi Valmik Road, Shah Jahan Road will be General Bipin Rawat Road. Aurangzeb Road, which they refer to again, has already been renamed Abdul Kalam Road. Perhaps they'd forgotten. On the show tonight, the BJP says that it is renaming roads symbolizing Muslim slavery. Are they in fact saffronizing India's identity? Later on the program, the Aam Aadmi Party's Raghav Chadha on the rocket attack on a police station in Punjab. How serious is the threat? But first, let's start with the latest bout of street renaming that we have in our country. Joining us on this program, Supriya Shinate of the Congress. We are joined by Professor Mridula Mukherjee, Deshratan Nigam, Alok Vats of the BJP, and Dr. Sardindu Mukherjee of the Indian Council for Historical Research. I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. Professor Mukherjee, let me come to you first. The BJP says that renaming roads symbolizing Muslim slavery is a priority. How would you respond to this?
Well, I would respond to it by saying that the very terminology is not correct. This is now not how we describe our history. The period when we had many Muslim rulers in India was also a period when we had many Hindu rulers in India. There is not even a single period of history which we can describe as a Muslim period, Right. Of course, it was always a mixed bag.
Right.
And I do not look upon the period when there were Muslim rulers in parts of India, sometimes in a large part of India, as a period when we were slaves.
Right.
And I take my understanding from my freedom struggle.
Right.
The leaders of our freedom struggle taught us that the period of colonial rule is when we were under foreign subjugation.
Right.
They did not look upon the earlier period when we had Mughals and Sultans and Bahmani kingdom and many Muslim rulers as period of when we were colonized. That was a history in which there were many people had always been coming into India right from the time of the earliest settlers.
Professor Mukherjee, correct me if I'm wrong, the fundamental difference between colonial rule and rule under the Mughals was that during the colonial times, the riches of our nation were used to fuel the riches of England, whereas during the Mughal times, they became a part of us,
Absolutely.
our culture, our society, and they fed. They fed our culture, they enriched it, the existence of what we now call India, much larger, of course, geographically.
You are using words almost identical to that which Lokmanya Tilak used when he defined Swaraj. He said, what is Swaraj? And he said, Malik Ambar's rule was Swaraj.
Right.
He said Swaraj is not about race, about color, about religion. It is about interests. Those
Correct.
who lived in India and worked in Indian interests, they are Indians.
Right. Okay, I'm going to get more. Professor Mukherjee.
I think it's a wrong way of looking back at our history.
Deshratan Nigam, why do we have to be revisionist? Why can we not embrace some of or accept that some of what the Mughals had was the finest of what we as a society should be encouraging? Look at the rule of Akbar. I can list 4 or 5 different things during his rule. We are now trying to rename Akbar Road.
Vishnu, first of all, let me clear this misconception that during colonial time, it was the riches of India which was fueling the British Empire. That is correct. But during the Mughal time also, and prior to some of the rulers, they all worked under Khalifa of Turkey. And the riches of India is in trillions of dollars. And it is given in the original text written by them.
No,
only.
but there were different rulers who changed the taxation system. If you're talking about Akbar himself, Akbar changed the taxation system in India. There were other rulers who...
Vishnu, let me finish now.
But again, why is this us versus them?
Let me tell you. See, I know my differences between two kinds of...
Deshratan, go ahead, yeah.
Let me make a distinction between Akbar or Abdul Hamid or APJ Abdul Kalam. I have nothing to, I'm not against Muslims, but I would like Brigadier Usman Road to be named after Brigadier Usman. You know, they are the people who are role models. Akbar
And the others, and others.
And let me give you an example, one by one. Akbar beheaded 40,000 Hindus unarmed in Mewar without any provocation. Please remember that. And if I start giving the atrocities of Tughlaq, or for example,
No, but if you are talking about Akbar, let me also tell you, it was under Akbar that the Mahabharata was translated, the Ramayana was translated, the Atharva Veda was translated, the Bhagavad Gita was translated, the Panchatantra was translated as well to Persian.
Yes.
He had a role where, despite never renouncing Islam, he spoke about a synthesis of different religious principles. Isn't that at one level what we today should be cherishing?
Vishnu, you know just a little bit of one side. If you look at the atrocities of Akbar, which has been wiped out from history.
And there have been no atrocities of others, sir, of different faiths?
No, there may be, but not on the basis of religion. Please understand, the entire racist genocide took place on the basis of religion.
Okay.
The others may have political differences, they used to attack each other. But based on faith, the genocide was done by all these rulers. That has been wiped out from history.
All right, the genocide done by Muslim rulers, wiped out from history. It seems a very large statement to be making, but Supriya, one sec, Deshrathanji, let me go across to Supriya. Supriya, is this less about, renaming and history, and more about forthcoming elections at the municipality level in Delhi, whether it's, targeting communally sensitive areas with bulldozers, or in this case, again, trying to rename roads?
Vishnu, there is something called weapons of mass distraction, and that's what the BJP has taken to with vengeance. Because they cannot claim any good governance, because they do not have a track record on development, the best they can do is turn to bulldozers, the best they can do is build statues, the best they can do is rename cities and roads.
No, but the Congress renamed a lot of things.
No, let me finish. Where does this stop? That's what I want to know. Today it's going to be the roads in Delhi.
But Supriya, sorry, I have to interrupt on this. It's one thing to criticize the BJP and sort of associate, this with politics or elections, whatever you may say, but the Congress also changed the names of so many. Rajiv Chowk, just off the top of my head, Connaught Place. So many of our airports are named after Congress leaders. So many cities were renamed. Calcutta, Bangalore, Mumbai, I think it was all in 1995 or thereabouts. That was when the Congress was largely in power.
Your question is misplaced, and I will tell you why it's misplaced. You can question the Congress for naming some things after our leaders. You can never question the Congress for trying to wipe out a part of our history. This is a communal stance that wipe out the Mughal history.
Okay.
You may want to wipe it out, but the reality is that Mughals were a part of Indian history. Okay. They laid the foundation for what we are today. They became intrinsically a part of our culture and civilization. And if we call ourselves civilized society, where is this going to end? Tomorrow this is going to be, Taj Mahal will be Tejo Bhavan, Qutub Minar wants to be Vishnu Stham. I mean, somewhere this has to stop.
Yeah.
And this has to stop because this cannot be an excuse to not govern. This
all right,
cannot be an excuse
one second.
for your inefficiency, for your incompetence, and that is what
Supriya, half a sec. Let me go across to Dr. Mukherjee. Dr. Shraddindu Mukherjee, does this have, in a sense, it almost seems to be detracting from so many other important issues in this country. We have skyrocketing inflation for all sorts of reasons. We have developmental concerns. We have environmental concerns. And here we are renaming streets. Dr. Mukherjee, do we have our priorities right?
Vishnu, I'm in a hurry. I'm just come out of a meeting. I'm not in India.
Go ahead, sir.
I've not followed the developments, what is taking place in India. I just got the news from your person today morning, an hour back. So, but the point is, basic point is very clear. I think this is a important demand, and this thing should have been done immediately after 1947. Now, when Edward Lutyens built Delhi, he had different calculations. India was still one country. So he had to incorporate various icons. Please don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you. So, and this is a fact. Whatever you may talk about the glories of the Mughal Empire, Akbar the Great, things like that. But the point is that they treated India as a colony. Even they had lived in India because they had no other way. They couldn't go back to the places where they had come from.
So
But
the
point is
entire
that India
Mughal
was-
empire, lasting so many centuries, didn't in any way enrich us for what we are today?
History.
The values
No,
of
whatever
Akbar,
history-
the
Vishnu,
art, the
Vishnu.
culture, the architecture, it's all a blank. It's a dark, we need to look at it as a dark
Okay,
period of our
okay,
history.
Vishnu.
Professor
Okay,
Mukherjee, is
Vishnu.
that what you're saying?
Vishnu, we are speaking in English language, which the English gave us, isn't it?
Yes.
We are using a device which the Western gave us. Doesn't mean that they should come and rule us again. Compared to what West has done last 200 years, Mughals did nothing. We didn't have a printing press before the British came. So look,
We
the point is
didn't
that-
have
They
anything.
give us arts, they give us
Professor Mukherjee, is that accurate?
We're talking about
That
Yeah, absolutely.
until the British came,
Because you see-
what was there earlier, it
Look,
counted for
Vishnu,
nothing.
Vishnu,
One second, sir, you made a point. Professor Mridula Mukherjee, go ahead.
You didn't.
No,
Vishnu, you didn't allow
I don't. I'm
complete.
sorry, I don't
I'm in a
agree
hurry.
with Aurobindo at all on this. I mean, he knows better history than what he's saying. I'm disappointed that
That's what I'm saying.
Aurobindo is
That's
saying
what I'm
this
saying.
because he knows our history enough to know that there was tremendous contribution in every sphere during the long period. Even you go back to the revenue system under Alauddin Khalji, there are different rulers made different contributions, and in different periods there were different contributions. And this whole way of looking at history just by looking at rulers and the religion of the rulers, we gave that up long ago. You are also dragging back the discipline of history to some old dead way of looking at history. We don't look back at history like that at all. So there are symbols
Mridula,
of that.
that is your problem.
There are
Mridula, that is
names
your
which
problem.
have been
All
given.
right, Professor Mridula
which are
Mukherjee,
part
one
of our
second.
history.
One
I
second.
just don't agree with this.
All right,
Vishnu,
Dr. Shardindu Mukherjee disagrees. Go ahead.
Vishnu, I'm in a hurry, please. I've just come out of a meeting, very important meeting.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. We've heard that. Yes, go ahead with your answer.
You see, I totally disagree with Mridula. Mridula also knows a lot of good history. The point is that after 1947, the Indian mind was systematically distorted because we got secularism, quote unquote, which was basically appealing to a particular communal vote bank and keep
Are
the
you
Hindu
a
society
No, I
down.
don't
Particular
agree.
communal vote bank.
I don't agree. I
me-
don't
look,
agree.
A
You are
particular
agreeing
communal
with
vote
Mahatma
bank.
Gandhi
Please
was
don't interrupt
wrong.
me. Let me complete.
Mahatma
Let me
Gandhi
complete.
said India will not be a Hindu state. So was Mahatma
what
Gandhi
happened?
wrong?
But
If
but
you
he
want to say
created
Mahatma
Pakistan.
Gandhi was wrong, okay, say it.
Mridula, fine. Gandhi said that fine.
I'm not
but I'll
talking
tell
of
you what he
Jawaharlal
did.
Nehru, I'm
He
talking of
created
Mahatma
Pakistan.
Gandhi. He said
He created
India will
Pakistan.
not be a Hindu state.
You leftist CPI, Muslim League, and this Congress, they created Pakistan.
I am not
So what do you
interested
mean
in
by saying that
CPI.
Gandhi did one
Muslim
day?
League. I'm interested in Mahatma Gandhi only. Please tell me, do you agree with what the Mahatma said or not? Do you agree for what he gave up his life or not? I take my
We
stand
are not
on
talking
that.
about Gandhi.
Nothing else.
We are not talking about Gandhi, Subhash Bose Patel
I am
here.
talking
We are
about
talking about
Gandhi.
renaming of Delhi streets. The point,
No,
those
I'm
streets are being
talking about the
renamed,
whole vision.
which
I'm talking
remind
about
us
the
of
way
our
you look at
slavery
history.
for thousands of years.
No,
All right,
it's a person.
Alok Vats is listening in very patiently, and then Supriya, I'll come to you after that. Alokji, sorry, I kept you waiting for this. The basic point is this. What is the point in othering a community which is the second largest Muslim population on earth? Why make an entire community insecure by labeling an entire part of our history as some sort of a black phase of our history?
Som, you have here people from JNU. They will always love the Muslim dynasty. They are pseudo-seculars. They will never talk of India's freedom
Are
and
you going to
India's
allow
freedom
this nonsense
fighters.
on your show? Are you going to allow this?
And second thing, you
Are you
please
going to
keep
allow
quiet.
this language?
No, Supriya,
please
half a
keep
second.
quiet.
I will let you answer.
You please
1
keep
second,
quiet.
Supriya. Yeah.
And
Alokji.
second thing is, okay, maybe Akbar was liberal and his policies were good, but what about others? Do you think Aurangzeb was same?
No, so
Do you think
therefore
the
we
others were same?
therefore we just forget that they
Anything
existed.
that is shameful, anything that is shameful, and it's a legacy of, treacherous past, it should be wiped out.
All right,
And
Supriya,
we
you
are
wanted to
blaming it
respond to
after-
that. A
after
legacy
people
of
who
a
have
treacherous
built the
past,
pinnacle
he
of
says,
height.
has to be wiped out. Respond, Supriya.
And who are we naming it
all
after?
of
High
that?
time it is done.
Can the
Naming it after
BJP?
other
I think it's
Muslim
time to
leaders.
stop
Abdul
speaking,
Kalam,
Alok Vats. My name is
Abdul
Supriya
Hamid.
Srinath. Keep talking.
Zakir
Is your
Hussain.
name Supriya? Please keep quiet now. Thank you.
Supriya, go ahead.
You were
Please
also
reply.
interrupting when I was speaking.
Now you keep quiet. I am only saying this senseless debate, will it answer one question? Will these roads be safer for women? Will sewage be fixed for Delhi? Will Delhi be safer for women? Will Delhi be more habitable? That's what I want to know by renaming these roads. And I hate
Come on,
to say this
these
as
are
a
not
member
mutually
of the
exclusive.
ICHR. Please keep quiet, sir.
This
I
is
did
not
not
mutually
interfere.
exclusive.
How is it related to that?
How is it not related? You are just going to rename
How
things.
is it related?
That's all that you will do. What is your governance? What I want to know.
What is happening in?
And by being
what
a
is
member
happening
of
in
the
your
ICHR,
Congress
you
route?
have turned completely
What is
against the very
happening in
fabric of this
Congress
country.
route, Rajasthan?
Shame on
What
you,
is
sir.
happening in
You
Congress
call
route,
yourself an author
Rajasthan?
and historian.
Why are you
As
not
a
able to
student
control
of
it there?
history, I feel ashamed that somebody like you is a part of the ICHR.
You are destroying
That
300-year-old
and
temple.
to look down upon our history. That
All
we
right,
cannot-
okay, all right. Look, this is getting out of control. Let's wrap this up. Let's wrap this up over here. I think the real question that does need to be asked is, what does this really achieve? The renaming of streets. Are we that small a nation that we need to do this to prove something? Should we not be focusing on larger issues which concern us? Lots of comments on this. Changing the name of the roads. Rohit says, do not change the history of India's colonial rule. What about the monuments of the Mughal emperors? Are you going to destroy the Taj Mahal? These kinds of questions, Ritesh says, these kind of issues only matter to political leaders. The common man hardly is concerned about it. We're going to move on now to another big story, the security situation in Jammu, in Punjab. I beg your pardon. There was a rocket-propelled grenade attack which took place in the intelligence wing of the police headquarters in Mohali yesterday. The use of this weapon is dangerous. It marks an escalation in the type of this weaponry. The Aam Aadmi Party's Raghav Chadha, who has been instrumental in looking at Punjab for his party, joins us now. Raghav, you know, rocket-propelled grenades represent a new sort of threat. What is the state government of Punjab going to do about this?
Well, first of all, Vishnu, this was an attack, a cross-border terror attack on the intelligence headquarters of the Punjab Police, done by a shoulder-mounted RFG, which is essentially a rocket fragmentation grenade. It had some explosion, which led to a black thick smoke that originated once that weapon went off. And and there were no casualties. There was no injury to anybody. The Honorable Chief Minister of Punjab today convened a high-level meeting and took cognizance of the incident. I can only share that some very important evidence has been gathered. Some suspects have been identified. The Honorable DGP of the state also held a press conference today and gave details of the entire attack and how substantial progress has been made as far as the investigation of this matter is concerned. Police establishments usually are a target for terror outfits, particularly those that are operating from across the border. And the intelligence headquarters situated in Mohali was one of them. As a result, we have beefed up security in all police establishments. Today, the Honorable Chief Minister of Punjab, Mr. Maan, has asked the police to beef up security of not only police establishment, but also important buildings and institutions like judicial courts, etc. And, you know, all I can say is that this hard-earned peace in the state of Punjab, which some people are trying to disrupt, will not be tolerated. We will not let these, you know, anti-social elements and these cross-border terror outfits.
No, but Raghav, there's a big difference between an anti-social element and a cross-border element. So I'm just trying to understand that you are accusing Pakistan of this attack?
Well, I think that is what the DGP has also said in his press conference earlier. That's what he has said, and that is what has emerged currently from all the investigations that have happened. I am privy of. I'm not privy of, you know, finer details, because that is something that a matter that the Honorable Chief Minister alone knows.
You know, there's another aspect in this, Raghav, and I think it bears, you know, we need to look at this very closely. The weaponry concerned, a rocket-propelled grenade of either East European or of Russian origin, is the weapon of choice in Afghanistan. It's been like that for decades. Just last week, the army came out with a report on how weapons originating in Afghanistan had been used against our soldiers in Jammu and Kashmir. Is this not a matter of concern? Because our intelligence forces, our armed forces have been always worried. This is going to happen if Afghanistan collapses.
It is certainly a matter of concern. It is certainly a very serious event, and it certainly calls for extra attention. The government of Punjab, the Aam Aadmi Party government of Punjab, is seized of the matter, is working towards ensuring that no such incident ever happens in the state of Punjab. We are working closely even with forces that are required to man the border, the India-Pakistan border,
the BSF,
namely the BFS. So the BSF and the Punjab police are working very closely to dislodge all such modules that these terror outfits usually adopt. But let me tell you that whether the weaponry that was used has its origin in Russia or some other part of the country, that is something which is still a matter of investigation.
Sure. No, I meant Afghanistan. A lot of these things are built in Peshawar, transferred to Afghanistan, they make its way here. I have one final question, because I'm running out of time to you came to power in Punjab on a development plank, speaking about education and things like that. Do you believe that, the national security plank or the security of Punjab issue is something which, it's not something the Aam Aadmi Party has ever dealt with? Do you believe that this is it's a challenge for you? I don't mean that negatively. I'm just saying, is this something that you're going to have to really focus on? There are drones coming across, heroin coming across. We've seen this rocket-propelled grenade attack.
So thank you so much for this question, Vishnu. And I'd like to dilate a bit on this. First of all, we were not equipped, or we didn't have the understanding or the requisite experience to even, look into matters of education and healthcare. But look what we did in Delhi. I think what is required is the political will, and with the correct political will and uprightness, you can deliver, whether it's administrative subjects like education, healthcare, etc., or for that matter, law and order and policing. Number one. Number two, we promised peace and harmony and maintenance of law and order in the state of Punjab. It was one of our core promises. While of course healthcare, education got the better of your attention and the national media attention, maintaining peace and harmony in the state of Punjab has been our core promise, and it's particularly because Punjab has seen some dark days, particularly the decade of 80s. Now, ever since Mr. Maan came into office, let me tell you, he constituted something called as the Anti-Gangster Task Force, the AGTF, on the 5th of April. I am happy to report that since 5th of April, AGTF has arrested more than 93 gangsters. More than 70 weapons have been confiscated. And AGTF is doing some spectacular work. Not only this, even if you were to average rate of crime in the past 1 month, it is much less than the average rate of crime under the previous.
Okay, Raghav, that's absolutely fantastic to know.
A lot needs to be achieved.
Sure, and we'll certainly be discussing.
A lot needs to be done. I'm not saying that we've solved the law and order problem and everything.
No, I'm not suggesting. But it's great that you've made this start. Let's hope that going forward,
we have the political will and the might to do this.
Absolutely. I'm just interrupting because, as usual, I'm completely out of time, Raghav. And I appreciate the points that you're mentioning. We will talk about this in the future as well. We are out of time on left, right, and center. From all of us here, good night.